Hi everybody, it's Flat Cap Cafe Racer. I'm out in the garage today and I got to thinking about, I was watching some YouTube videos online and things, and people were talking about the glut of used bikes out there. And I don't know about your area, but it seems to be a big glut of used bikes out there. And I think maybe a lot of it came from the COVID period when a lot of bikes were sold, and now that the inflation rate is pretty high, people are starting to get rid of some bikes that they need money to pay other bills. But then I got to think about, what do you look for when you're buying a used bike? Well, this is some of the things I look for when I buy a used bike, so stay tuned. Meerkat. Most of the viewers know that I just recently purchased this Kawasaki Z900 RS SE. Well, I'm not independently wealthy. I have a lot of bikes, but it's taken some time to acquire them. So I did sell this Moto Guzzi, and it'll be picked up a little bit later. And I'm also selling this Royal Enfield 500 in order to help defer some of those costs. So it got me to think about, well, what do I look at when I go to buy a used bike? I guess it depends on what you're going to look for, is depending on your location and where the bike is. You know, if you can, maybe if you find it off Craigslist or something like that. But wherever you find it, you know, there'll be a picture, there'll be descriptions on all the bikes and stuff like that. But it's really kind of hard to tell in the pictures what kind of condition the bike is. So you'll want to go to wherever the bike is to take a look for yourself. I'm going to use this Royal Enfield 500 as an example. I've got it up for sale, and it may sell tomorrow. It may not sell for another 2 or 3 months. It is what it is. But when you come and look for the bike, and you make that appointment to come look for it, when you come in, everybody looks at the bike closely for the scratches and dings and things like that, but you want to pay particular attention to the ball ends of the levers, the edges of the hand grips, the foot peg, any place that would touch down on a bike if it was either dropped or it been in an accident. Then you need to ask the person that's selling the bike, has it been dropped or has it been an accident? And if they tell you that it hasn't, and you see that it has, then that's probably a big clue, unless the bike is really exceptionally good, that you should walk away, because you just don't really know what to believe on anything on the bike from that point forward. When you come in, you're always looking for things that are wrong with the bike, but also things that are right with the bike. Are the tires still good? Because that goes into the price of the bike. If you're going to have to replace tires when you do the bike, then you have to account for those costs. Is it chain? Is it chain in good shape? Is it loose? Is it rusty? If it's loose and it's rusty, that tells you a little bit about what kind of maintenance that's been done on this bike. And it's very important, because cosmetically a bike can look good, but if the maintenance was done poorly or wasn't done at all, then you can't see all that. So some of the things that you can see, if they didn't take care of the things that you can see, chances are they didn't take care of the things that you can't see either. That's very important, because when you buy the bike, you're buying the bike, but you're also buying how well the owner took care of the bike. Okay, and that can make a big difference, because you can see two bikes that maybe look identical, maybe one's a little higher in price than the other, but just because the cosmetics of the bikes are the same, or maybe one's better than the other, doesn't mean the bike is better because it may have been poorly maintained. Now, if it's doesn't have good tires and it has a loose and rusty chain, doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad bike, but it does mean that there are probably some hidden things that you don't see on the bike that you may have to take care of. And that does make a difference for most people. Then when you look at the bike, you need to ask the guy what kind of accessories do you have on it? Like I got a pedestrian slicer and a luggage rack and things like that. But you also need to ask what's on the bike that doesn't come with the bike. For instance, for me, I have a toolbox here that I may end up taking off down here. So that might not necessarily come with the bike, but I usually mention what comes with the bike and what doesn't. And what usually you want to make sure that if they got anything like a spare seat or stuff to make the oil change and filters and things like that, and in this case is a spare headlight and bulb that comes with it, that's included on the price of the bike. So I don't like to sell the bike piecemeal. So whatever you get the whole bike, all the accessories that come with it, they're on the bike, and all the things that was originally taken off the bike. Now, a good question would be, if you see a spare headlight like this one, is what kind? You got a spare headlight? Well, the reason is, if you look at the maintenance log I keep on my bike, I've already had 6 different headlights on this bike. So headlights have been an issue with this particular bike. Now, the headlights issue is more often associated with the what kind of RPMs and vibration you run, because this bike has a tendency to vibrate a lot, and the headlights I've been replacing with aren't the best quality headlights. So they're only about $17 a piece, but that's a factor that, it's something peculiar about the bike. One of the things I guess that you already would have done is, if you come to look at this bike, what are you going to be using the bike for? Is it, for this bike, it's got some good things it does well. It does well around town. It does well on these 2-lane roads at 55 and 60 miles an hour. But if you want to ride it out in the interstate, especially on Reagan grooves, it would be a terrible bike for that. You may want something like the Tiger or the Kawasaki 900. So you need to come in knowing that, the bike's going to be fit for whatever you're going to use it for. This bike is a very good bike, but it doesn't do some of those things very well. Nor is it priced at a high price. So to buy this bike is like $4,000. To buy this one would be probably closer to $18,000 or $19,000. So Brembo brakes versus whatever Royal Enfield puts on their stuff. The clutch pull, there's lots of difference between a higher price bike and a lower price bike. So one of the things that you're wanting to do when you come in is you're checking the bike, and you kind of check and see, make sure all the bolts and nuts are there. Spokes, you can tap them with like a screwdriver or something, and to see if they have a good sound to them. They're not too loose. Always check the engine, because you're going to do a test ride a little bit later. You want to make sure that the engine's cold, because if somebody's warmed up the engine, maybe they're hiding a little bit of something from you. Maybe the bike is difficult to start. But look at all those things all over the bike, and you can kind of get an idea. Like, does it have a lead for charge the battery? Okay, for this particular bike, the tires on this bike are really good, and they'll probably last another 5 years at the rate I ride it. But generally, tires go 10 to 12,000 miles. A battery will go, if you take good care of it, it'll go about 5 years. Okay, so you're looking at, and you kind of going through this checklist of things that, if you buy the bike, what are you going to do? You look at those maintenance records over there. Has the oil been changed? Has it been filtered? Do I need to do all that? Those are all good considerations in when you're looking at these bikes. Not everybody really wants you to do a test ride when you come and look at a bike. Okay, they're especially not going to want you probably to take an hour test ride on a bike. But you should expect to bring your helmet, and if you've got a motorcycle license, you should be able to expect to take it around the block at least, so you can shift go through the gears, shift, make sure all the gears work. There's nothing funny sounding coming from the bike. The brakes work. There's no pulsing that maybe indicate a rotor is warped or anything like that. And you want to make sure everything works. All the lights work, the horn works, everything, all the controls work as they should work. One of the things you're going to do when you start the bike, you're going to listen for any unusual noises, how long it takes to start the bike, and just how well it turns over when you do it. So, in most of the bikes that have fuel injection, you'll hear, as soon as you turn the key on, you should hear something. So the bike started right up, and it was cold. It tells you a little bit about the battery, tells you a little bit about the bike. When you get the bike, you want to make sure that you get, if you got like over there in the Royal Enfield, they had the oil filter and the oil and some O-rings and stuff to go with the bike. But if there's anything like a special tool that should go with the bike, you want to get that. You want to make sure you get the maintenance manual. That should have a maintenance manual that, like I keep mine in here. Then if there's a shop manual, then you can get that. Like for this one, I don't have a paper shop manual, but I have a PDF file that I could send. There's a shop manual with this particular bike. But you want to get all that stuff with it, because if you like doing some of the maintenance on the bike, then you can do that. One of the things that I think is kind of cool if you buy a bike from a YouTuber is generally, like, there's probably 25 or 30 videos showing the bike being used, probably showing the bike having maintenance done to it and things like that. So there's a big advantage of buying it from a YouTuber, because you can go back and kind of look and see what's going on with the bike and what kind of history it has. Has there been any problems, and does it, have you seen those, and is it something you can live with? That's just another thing that you could do as part of your research into buying the bike. The prices on the new bikes, they're starting on some of, and they're competing with the used bike market right now. A lot of the dealers are kind of flush. Before the COVID period, they did not have any new bikes, so they were trying to get used bikes to sell used bikes. But a lot of people bought used bikes, then a lot of people went ahead and bought some new bikes. And now they're finding they can't pay for the new bikes, so the used market is getting kind of flooded. And also on the dealers' end, they're getting pretty good stocks of new bikes. So they're having to try to discount those a little bit, because the prices are so high that the interest rates to buy a new bike, if you buy over 5 years, it's pretty high. Interest rates on a used bike is even higher. So you may look at it and go, well, gee, I could buy a new bike for almost the same amount as a used bike. Only if they waive like the setup, the prep, all that stuff. Because whenever you look at a new bike, you're almost $1,000 or more, $1,500 adding on to a new bike through a dealer than you would be buying a used bike from somebody else. If you have cash, then you're in good condition to buy either the new or the used, because it's a buyer's market right now for new and used bikes. So take a look at it, see what you think when you go out and look at the used bikes. Give me your opinions on what you look for when you go for a used bike. But these are kind of some things I do, and I try to put myself in the same kind of shoes as the somebody buying a bike. What would I want to see? Are the bikes kept inside? Are they kept outside? Are they, does it have a cover over the bike when it's outside? Because all those things impact how well the bike's going to last and how well it's going to hold up. So If you can buy a bike that's kept inside like these, and like in a you know 40 degrees at no lower than 40 degrees, the bikes are going to hold up a lot better. And if somebody keeps them on a battery charger, the batteries are going to hold up a lot better. So it does make a difference of who you're buying the bike from. So just make sure you keep that in your mind when you're buying a bike. It's almost as important as the bike itself, because what you see for the bike is probably not going to make you unhappy, because you kind of see what you think you're going to get, but it's what you don't know as how the bike was treated, and that's going to impact how you feel about the bike and your purchase later on. Just my thoughts. This is Flat Cap Cafe Racer out for today. Bye. Join me and my friends at Flat Cap Cafe Racer for riding and racing. Please subscribe.